Guys, I want to say thanks to you. Cheers to you. This one's for you. For watching Fantasy Football Now. I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Please follow me on Twitter or any kind of social media platform you can find at Mitchell Renz 365. I love interacting with people. I love talking to people about fantasy football because at the end of the day, I think fantasy football helps people get away from reality. It helps people get away from their tough times in life, and I think that's what makes fantasy football so powerful. Next segment I got for you guys coming up, which you can see right below, breakout running backs for 2018. But what exactly is a breakout running back? He's a guy who maybe hasn't really lived up to his expectations before, or a guy who's a rookie coming in who's going to surprise people. For that reason, a guy like that I like to think about is a guy like Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara was a no-doubt breakout running back who won people leagues. And I want you to think about that when you think about a guy for a breakout for 2018. So the first guy I got coming up for you guys up on the board is a running back from the New England Patriots, and that's Sony Michel. Sony Michel is a guy that I like to compare to a guy like Alvin Kamara and Kareem Hunt. I think when you combine those two, that equals Michel. The dude's got great burst, great acceleration. He might be a lesser version of a guy like Alvin Kamara, so I don't want to get your hopes up too high, but he is the best pass blocking running back in this year's draft. And I think that was the reason why the Patriots ultimately took him in the first round, 31st overall. The thing that scares me with Michel is he fumbles. He averaged a fumble 54.8 touches, and if he can avoid the fumbles in New England, he's going to play. But if he fumbles, that's where the issue is. And a lot of times we talk about, oh, the Patriots, they have all these committees, but the Patriots have before shown us that they're not afraid to lean on a guy. I talk about guys like Stephen Ridley. He got a lot of work, and he was a fantasy monster. So let's not totally get away from it. And then even just a few years ago, or 2 years ago, LeGarrette Blount led the NFL in rushing touchdowns. So a guy like Michel, super talented, going to be on the field a lot. He's a guy who I think could no doubt be a breakout in 2018. The next guy I got coming up on the board is another running back, but he's entering his second year, and he's a guy on the Bengals, and that's Joe Mixon. He was my number 2 running back entering last year's draft at Oklahoma. A guy who was just unbelievably talented, and if it wasn't for some off-the-field issues, would have been a first-round pick, no doubt. But Mixon struggled a little bit last year, as the Bengals did as a whole. But he averaged 5 yards per carry over his last 4 games of the season. And I think when you just look at how productive he was and how much the Bengals started to incorporate him, that's a reason why you can be positive about a guy like Joe Mixon. And when you just look at talent, he can catch, he can run. I don't want to compare him to a guy like Le'Veon Bell, but he definitely has the upside of a career of a guy like Le'Veon Bell. And if you can get Le'Veon Bell right now in his second year, would you do it? God, I would hope, because he's absolutely stud. And when I think about just overall, they improved their offensive line. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year. I understand Gio Bernard's still there, but I like Joe Mixon, and I think he has a lot of upside. And when you're looking at guys like Joe Mixon or Kenyon Drake, I'm going to take Joe Mixon all day. If you disagree with me, make a good argument for Kenyon Drake in the comments below, because Frank Gore's still there, and he's not going away anytime soon. And Kalen Ballage isn't a name to sleep on either. Harris, let's get in my next guy, and this is a guy who I'm super excited about. He's a running back for the 49ers, and his name is Jerick McKinnon. He's the guy that I got to meet at the National Fantasy Football Convention, and it's kind of cool standing next to an NFL player and be like, damn, I'm the exact same height as him. He might have better abs than me, and he might be a little bit more filled out, but this Jerick McKinnon guy is going to be an absolute stud. And I think when you look at Jerick McKinnon, they paid him a whole bunch of money, and they front-loaded that contract. He is going to get a lot of work. 4 years, $30 million, but 13 of it is guaranteed. He is going to get a ton of work this offseason, and I am super excited to see what he can do. But why am I just overly excited about Mixon? Because I think Kyle Shanahan knows exactly the running back that excels in his system. So why do I have Steve Slayton up there? Why do I have Devonta Freeman? Well, Steve Slayton, 5'9", 205 pounds. Devonta Freeman, 5'8", 206 pounds. Okay. Jerick McKinnon, 5'9", 205 pounds. Maybe he knows what kind of running back ultimately excels in his system. And I think he does. Steve Slayton, his first year, he was a rookie. Look at those numbers. 9 touchdowns, 1,282 yards. He had over 1,600 yards, total yards. Devonta Freeman had 3.5 yards per carry the year before Shanahan showed up. And then ultimately he was the number 1 running back in fantasy football. When you look at a guy like Freeman who never really showed anything and then all of a sudden just blossomed at over 1,600 total yards and 11 touchdowns, like that's how good Devonta Freeman was. Plus he got 97 targets. He had over 50 receptions. If that's what I can get from a guy like Jerick McKinnon right now, I am unbelievably excited to get him on all my teams, especially in a PPR league, because I think Jerick McKinnon is a legit shot to have 65 catches this year. And you all can think I'm crazy because I've heard the argument, oh, Carlos Hyde only had 10 receptions with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jerick McKinnon is a much better pass-catching running back than a guy like Carlos Hyde. And when you just look at overall draft position and the upside that they could have with the 49ers team that I think is going to be pretty good, Jerick McKinnon is a no-doubt breakout in my opinion. And for that reason, you guys should definitely draft him, and I hope you do. Shout out to you, Jerick. If you ever want to give me a follow on Twitter or Instagram, though, I would definitely appreciate it. You definitely liked my picture, which was cool. All right, Harris. The next guy I got coming up, and it's a guy who I think is got a lot of talk around him this offseason because there's a lot of talk around this team, a lot of hype around this team. And he's a running back for the Minnesota Vikings, and it's a guy by the name of Dalvin Cook. I'll be honest, I was a little bit low on Cook coming into the draft because I was blinded by his poor combine. But then I watched this guy play. And then I went back and I watched the tape. And the offense is going to be a lot better this year with a guy like Kirk Cousins. He averaged last season 88.5 rushing yards per game, which is really incredible when you think that a guy like Todd Gurley averaged only 87 rushing yards per game. Yeah, Todd Gurley is a guy who I think we can all agree is pretty freaking good. Dalvin Cook last year was an absolute monster in those 4 games. And I think he could be a 3-down running back because I don't think Latavius Murray is all that great. I've always made the comparison with Latavius Murray. Murray's kind of that chick you walk up to at the bar at 2 a.m. because you struck out before and you're just trying to pick something up. That's Latavius Murray to me. He's nothing special. He's just trying to fill the hole, or I guess I would be. But, like, nothing compared to Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is an absolute monster, and I think when you just look at overall talent, he's going to get a ton of work. And Dalvin Cook, dude, on this Vikings team with that defense is an absolute stud. And for that reason, he's going to be a breakout. He's my number 2 breakout this year. But my number 1 breakout guy is a guy who I am crushing on so hard this offseason because he's just so talented. And he's just dripping with talent. And to be honest, makes me kind of drip too. And I probably shouldn't say that with a beer between my legs. But he's a guy who I just absolutely love. And that's New York Giants running back Saquon Barkley. Last year, Alvin Kamara was the rookie running back. And Kareem Hunt was a rookie running back who just broke out and just showed what they could do. Saquon Barkley is going to be a guy who I think can excel way beyond all those expectations. I think he could have a year a lot like what Ezekiel Elliott did. And when you just like want to talk about comparisons and SPARQ scores and how talented a guy is, I mean, 99th percentile in SPARQ score. That means he's 99% better than all the running backs to ever come out in the NFL draft. This guy blew up the combine, and when you just look at a comparison up there, LaDainian Tomlinson and David Johnson. That is my comparison for a guy like Saquon Barkley. That's how talented he is. And if you don't believe me, go watch his tape because he is unbelievable. Rookie running backs the last 2 years, Ezekiel Elliott and Kareem Hunt, have led the NFL in rushing yards. Don't be surprised if a guy like Saquon Barkley does it for 3 straight years in a row because he is that good. And when I go back and I look at numbers, right? The Giants the last few years have averaged 398 rushing attempts per game. Then I went back and I looked at the last 5 running backs selected in the top 10. Those teams averaged 13.8% more rushing or carries the next season. So I think the Giants are going to be around that 450 carry mark this year for their running backs. And if Saquon Barkley can get 65% of the touches, just 65% of the touches, which is exactly what Ezekiel Elliott had his rookie year, he's going to be a guy who's going to be around 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. And that's if he averages like 4.5 yards per carry. Like, you have Odell Beckham, you have Evan Ingram, you have Sterling Shepard, a lot of talent. The offensive line in general is just so much better for the Giants. And if you're going to give this monster of a man that amount of work, he is going to absolutely break out. And it is so exciting to see a guy from Saquon Barkley from Central Pennsylvania, where I'm from, represent, be a breakout. So, my 2018 breakout running backs for 2018. I got number 5 is Sony Michel. Number 4 is Joe Mixon. Number 3 is Jerick McKinnon. Number 2 is Dalvin Cook. And number 1 is my dude, Saquon Barkley. And those are the breakout running backs who I think are going to win your league this season. Fantasy football fam, I want to say thank you so much for joining my pilot episode. My name is Mitchell Renz. Please follow me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. I'm going to be bringing you guys a ton of fantasy football content, some good beer takes for the entire season, and I hope you come along for the ride. And until next time, I'll see you.